Hi, my name is Dr. Marisa Maza. I'm a psychologist in the San Francisco Bay Area, providing telehealth services across California. I'm super excited for today's OCD tips because it's on one of my favorite topics of values. Let's start with what values are. I like to define values as guiding principles. They're the things in life that give us meaning, that give us purpose, that allows us to find fulfillment and joy in our lives at times. For purposes of reflection and therapy, I like to focus on what we call self-values. So what I mean by self-values is, how is it I want to be in my life? How is it I want to show up towards myself? How do I want to be towards the people I love? How do I want to show up in my career or in my schooling, in my community? What's most important to me in my life? Oftentimes, OCD can get in the way of people living their values. And it may be beneficial to spend some time thinking about what the cost of giving into compulsions is. In having this conversation, people often report it is their values. The OCD takes up so much time and energy, gets in the way of the person spending their time on things that bring them joy, that are perhaps more meaningful and purposeful. The more time one spends on trying to control their internal experiences, their thoughts, their feelings, their urges, the less time they're able to spend on things like their values. The beautiful thing about values is that they are flexible. So, for example, the value of love. There's many different ways of living that value. The value of education. There's many different ways of becoming educated, right? I can read journals or magazines. I can take a class. I can go to a conference. In terms of love, I can, help someone I care about. I can also spend some time loving and nourishing myself by doing something like a meditation. Values are not something we complete. They are something we can strive for in a gentle way. This can be helpful because oftentimes the mind can get very rigid in how we show up in life, in the types of responses that show up when we're having certain feelings. So, for example, in OCD, it's not uncommon for folks to engage in compulsions when a particular type of uncertainty or discomfort arises. Their natural response is to then engage in avoidance or compulsion or ritual. Values can be helpful in that, one, it can remind the person of what gives them meaning and what gives them purpose. It can give the person an alternative thing to focus on. So rather than being inward, focusing on one's internal experiences, values can allow the person to then focus on living, on what's happening outside of them, on what's going on in their day-to-day that is in line with living a fulfilling life. So not only are values flexible, there's many different ways of living them, they're also allow us to shift our attention from our internal experiences to what's happening outside of us. So for example, sometimes when I'm feeling anxious and I'm surrounded by family members, I remind myself that being present and connecting with my family members is what's most important. So can I notice the noise in the back of my mind, maybe sometimes respond with a let's see, I don't know, feel the discomfort in my body while focusing on what my loved ones look like, what they sound like, what they feel like. Values can also help with motivation. Doing exposure work is really hard. And why bother doing something that's really hard and really scary unless it's meaningful to you? The purpose of doing exposures is to get good at having uncertainty and discomfort. So that way you can live and do the things that you want to do. What are your values? And what's the cost of continuing to engage in compulsions and avoidance? There are lots of awesome values resources out there. IOCDF just had a town hall that I participated in a couple weeks ago. You can check out IOCDF town hall on YouTube, topic being values. If you Google values exercises and ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, I'm sure a ton will come up. The ACT workbook for OCD that I wrote also has values exercises in it. I wish you all lots of courage and joy in exploring what your values are. We all deserve to live a happy, fulfilling life. And I do believe it starts with acknowledging what actually matters. And this is unique to all of us. There's no right or wrong here. Good luck on your journey, and feel free to post any questions or comments that you have about values on the link below. Thanks so much.